They are Obama's favorite weapon: unmanned aerial vehicles, or drones.
Is war becoming like a video game?
It's nothing like a video game.
What's next for these robots of the battlefield? We're in Alamogordo, New Mexico. The US Air Force have invited the media to Holloman Air Force Base. The main attraction is the Reaper, an unmanned aerial vehicle.
I don't know where to go to actually get the shot of the Reaper taking off, but we can provide extra B-roll probably tomorrow.
First, we meet the squadron commander.
Why have drones, or RPAs as you call them, become so popular with the US Air Force? Do you have an explanation for that?
Yeah, they work. They are a force multiplier and they save lives. You know, I really believe that the remotely piloted aircraft, I like to call them remotely piloted aircraft, not drones, because we are actually controlling them. But the remotely piloted aircraft save lives.
This is an MQ-9. This is a Reaper.
What is it used for?
It's used primarily for intelligence, surveillance, reconnaissance, and it does have a strike roll too.
What is the payload?
The payload is what you see on this airplane. You've got, on each side you can carry 2 Hellfires, you can carry a bomb, and on the other side you put another bomb, the 500-pound class bomb, and the 2 Hellfires. So yeah. You got 4 missiles and 2 GU-12s, bombs on each airplane.
How long can this plane stay in the air?
This airplane can stay in the air probably about 16 hours.
And that's a big advantage compared to an F-16 or a fighter plane.
It is. That's one of the advantages this one has, is that it's got persistence. And persistence is always over the top of somebody if they are needing help from above.
You don't have to fly back to base to refuel. You can just stay for
We can stay for a long place for long times, yes.
Like the Colonel said, its primary role is intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance. So to accomplish that, we do have the primary payload are the cameras, both day TV and night vision camera.
Do you have a live video link from the aircraft back to base?
Yes, sir.
And how good is that quality? You can really see pretty good what's happening on the ground?
Yes, sir. It's very good quality.
Can you give me your name and rank?
No, sir. My name is Major Trey.
And your last name?
Not able to divulge that.
This is an Air Force policy that we're following.
Yeah.
So all we're doing is following that policy that's been set in place to protect our pilots and sensor operators due to much of the operational security risks that they may face in their line of work. To your right is McDonald's. Anything? Nothing? It's early.
The Americans claim that drones are vital in combating terrorism. They are much cheaper and easier. You can do some serious damage with them. And that's the way they want to suppress Al-Qaeda. This is Anwar al-Awlaki. The CIA say he was the leader of Al-Qaeda in Yemen. Yemen and America are not at war, but the US sent a drone after al-Awlaki and 3 fellow passengers anyway.
All of them were killed without trial or without a public presentation of evidence against them. They were killed when missiles were fired from drones that were operated by the CIA or the US military.
ACLU, a civil rights organization in New York, is currently suing the state for summary executions carried out with drones.
I think there is certainly a concern that the United States is setting a precedent in its use of drones that it would not be happy with other countries using it in the same way. You're absolutely right that the technology of drones is not particularly complicated at its base, and there are dozens of nations now that are developing or already have drone technology. And the United States now claims the ability to use these drones to kill people all over the world. I suspect that the United States will not be so happy if a country like Russia or China or Iran claims the same authority and starts going after United States citizens or others. It's really a dangerous precedent.
The unmanned aerial vehicles are controlled from these containers in America. The pilots don't go into the war zone at all. They drive to the base in the morning, kill some Al-Qaeda or Taliban fighters, and go home for dinner at the end of the day.
It is a unique capability to be able to operate stateside and then go home to your family. It's kind of weird though, because for half of your day you're operating and performing missions, and then you go home to view your family. And for some folks that can be a challenge, for some of the younger guys, but the Air Force does a very good job. We have a lot of resources, chaplains, medical personnel, for any issues they may see, they are well taken care of.
But are drones precision weapons, or do they cause civilian casualties?
I want to make sure that people understand actually drones have not caused a huge number of civilian casualties. For the most part, they have been very precise, precision strikes against Al-Qaeda and their affiliates. And we are very careful in terms of how it's been applied. So I think that there's this perception somehow that we're just sending in a whole bunch of strikes willy-nilly. This is a targeted, focused effort at people who are on a list of active terrorists and so on.
Mistakes like these, when an American chopper pilot shot Iraqi civilians, should now occur less frequently. Drones are said to be more precise, but that turns out to be not entirely true.
Coming around clear. Shit happens, zeggen ze altijd in war.
Shit happens. That's what they say in war. Murphy's Law. Things go wrong. And that goes for UAVs as well as aircraft. You think you've cornered an Al-Qaeda fighter on a farm, so you send a rocket out there to kill him. When it's about to hit, whether from a manned or an unmanned aircraft, his wife comes out the door. What do you do? The scenarios for such actions are unchanged. A drone might be a few inches more precise, but the consequences are the same.
So you have two people operating the aircraft?
That's right. The pilot is flying the airplane, the pilot in command is in charge, and then the sensor operator is operating the targeting pod under the direction of the pilot. You need two to maximize the capabilities of the aircraft. So as you can see, the sensor operator is actively involved in moving that targeting pod around, finding the blue forces, the convoy, etc. It's pretty much a full-time job, and so that allows the pilot to focus on not just maneuvering the aircraft to produce optimal imagery, but also to be in charge of the overall tactical scenario, how you're going to employ the weapon system.
What is this joystick used for?
That's the control stick. You use it, it's not a joystick, it's the control stick for the aircraft.
It's just a big computer game. It's funny how these pilots, although they are desk pilots, still wear flight suits to make them look like real pilots.
Is war becoming like a video game?
It's nothing like a video game. And the reason it's not like a video game is because this is connected to a real airplane flying through the real air. These two crew members are acutely aware of that, right? And in fact, because they have an egocentric perspective, they actually start to feel like they're on board the aircraft after a bit of time, right?
In a way, the Americans already reached a turning point in 2009 and 2010. They trained more screen pilots than pilots physically inside an aircraft. And they purchased more unmanned planes than manned ones, which is not surprising, since they are much cheaper.
Dus eigenlijk geen science fiction meer, het is de realiteit van vandaag.
It's everyday reality.
This is the step desk, is what we call it, and the operations supervisor is in charge of all of the missions that go on.
Was that a civilian car on the road?
It is a civilian car here in New Mexico.
So you're training with locking on civilian cars?
We're able to track them. We do not simulate or actually engage those vehicles. It's just simply to train them to be able to follow a moving target.
With or without their permission?
They do not know that we can see them, but we are just following the vehicle with the camera.
You were in Afghanistan in 2008. What happened?
I was invited to an interview by a Taliban commander, and I went to the interview with 2 Afghan colleagues. Instead of interviewing us, he kidnapped us and took us into the tribal areas of Pakistan and held us prisoner there for 7 months.
So you were a hostage?
Yeah, we were held in an area called North Waziristan. It's part of the tribal areas in Pakistan. They train suicide bombers there. There are foreign militants, and also there are American drones sort of circling overhead in the sky all the time. It was amazing to be on the other side of a drone strike. Drones sort of circled all the time overhead in the tribal areas of Pakistan. These drone strikes happen maybe once every 10 days or 2 weeks, and the militants would be angry when they would occur. It was hard for me to tell what was happening, but it did seem like militants were being killed in attacks along with some civilians. The closest missile strike was we had moved to a small town in South Waziristan, and there was a car driving next to the house where we were being held, and a missile strike hit the car, and we were so close that pieces of metal, pieces of shrapnel from the missile actually landed in the courtyard of the house where we were being held. I was afraid civilians had been killed. I was very afraid I would be killed in revenge for the attack. It turned out that 7 foreigners and Pakistani militants were in the car, all men, and they had been killed. One of the things the Obama administration has tried to do is have a light footprint that, compared to a Bush-style large ground invasion with 100,000 troops in Afghanistan or Iraq, the Obama administration tries to use smaller amounts of force, more precisely targeted against al-Qaeda, not other groups. And they think in the Obama administration that the drone strike does this. It doesn't. It's not a light presence. It is a military weapon of war, and when you use it, Pakistanis or Yemenis get angry about it. It's not this precise thing that doesn't really bother people.
And now he's pulling up on the nose, getting ready for takeoff.
A lot of people thought Obama is in power now. He's not such a cowboy as Bush was. He probably won't do such things. But precisely because unmanned systems are so clean and outside our scope and able to hunt down individual terrorists, many Americans think, go ahead, do it, and don't tell us the dirty details. So even a liberal president does it. He probably thinks, this is already a controversial war. I'd better not endanger my pilots and my special forces. What else do I have? Unmanned aerial vehicles. Deploy them. Drones aren't only popular with the army. Police and security services also use them on their own territory to find criminals and combat illegal immigration. A privacy organization from San Francisco is suing the state for this.
So why are you suing the government?
Well, we're suing the government because we're very concerned about the use of drones domestically in the United States. We already know that state and local law enforcement are using drones, but we don't know very much about how or why. Drones have the capability to include all different types of privacy invasive technologies. They're able to use thermal imaging technology to see inside buildings. They're able to use communication intercept technology to listen into our phone calls, location tracking technology to track where we've been, where we're going. For all of these reasons, I think drones are a real privacy concern.